But it's hard for me to watch these guys play basketball and see, oh, well, Towns was wide open on this pick and pop and Brunson shot a double teamed 15-footer. It's on Tibbs to instill a principle into Brunson that he needs to make that pass. Even if that's true, which it is true, because let's be clear, if Brunson did that playing for Joe Mazzulla, it would take like a game. And then all of a sudden that pass would be made every single time, I'd assume, because it's made almost every single time for the Boston Celtics. So I do believe that it is on the coach and the coaching staff to instill these principles. But I also think these are professional basketball players who are the most skilled people in the world. And on some level, it is also their responsibility to make these plays. So that's sort of where I struggle with this. I don't really have a clear answer. I just think it's an interesting conversation.
So yeah, I think that's well laid out there. You mentioned Brunson wanting to play a certain way. I think I agree. I think he has specific skills that he trusts in first and foremost. He trusts himself. He trusts his scoring ability. And so his first instinct is probably not to make sort of like what we look at as open, simple passes to open shooters or open players. Oftentimes he thinks he has the advantage and likes his odds with him being the one to finish the play as opposed to passing to somebody else to either finish the play or keep the advantage going. I do agree with that. I think that that's probably true. But that's not all that we see. You know, if that was all that we see, I would still think it's the coach's fault, like largely and first and foremost, and pretty much almost exclusively. But we also see players floating inside the 3-point line, well documented by you on our Hot Hand Theory Twitter account. You know, wings and two guards making poor cuts into the basket, like in towards the rim. We see things that just reflect a poor process to me, a poor process, not good principles or an approach that has been clearly instilled into the team and facilitated and reinforced constantly on a daily basis. And because we see that, to me, that indicates that the players aren't just doing whatever they want and just saying, well, this is what makes me good, and so I do this, or this is what I think makes me good. I think I'm Landry Shamet. I think what makes me good is that I cut baseline instead of staying for an open corner three. And like, if that's what Landry Shamet thinks, then Landry Shamet's been benched for less, Geoff. And so if Landry Shamet thinks that what makes him good is cutting baseline to try to finish a layup at the rim when Jalen Brunson is getting double teamed, then there's a simple solution to that. It is Landry Shamet, watch this film, never do that again. And if you do that again, you will never see the court again. It's pretty simple. And obviously I'm being dramatic about it. You wouldn't say it in that way and make it be like one decision means you'll never play it again. Of course I'm exaggerating. But my point is that the coach has levers to push to help dictate and create the environment that the players play in. And I will say this. There's something I want to talk about, which is passing versatility. This is a data point from B-Ball Index, a metrics that helps quantify the range and variety of passes a player can make. So this is not a perfect measure of like court vision or something like that, but in my opinion, this is strong evidence towards a player's ability to make passes. Jalen Brunson, I don't think is a limited passer. I think he can make all the passes, and he does, just not with the regularity that we would like. He is a 92nd percentile player in passing versatility, and last year he was in the 90th percentile. Guess what player he has been better than the last 2 seasons? I will fill in the blanks. Tyrese Halliburton in terms of passing versatility. Tyrese Halliburton is a player we think of as like, you know, he can make all the passes and he can, and he does. And the key is that he makes simple passes, right? And so I know that I believe, and you can correct me, obviously, that your contention is that Brunson is not a willing passer, but it is first important to say that he is a capable passer. He can do it. And this is not a capability issue. He has the ability to make all of these passes that we've seen him pass up. And if we agree on that, if we agree that he has the capacity to do it, then to me, it's a matter of, is he in the environment that fosters him making those decisions, that reinforces him making those decisions, that makes him be more likely to make those decisions. And if he's not in that environment, but he has the capability of doing it, then that is a problem with coaching to me. So that is my big issue. I think the coach needs to create an environment that reinforces and makes it more likely for behaviors like, quick kick out passes and making the simple pass and spacing out, above the line for really excellent shooters. I don't see why you would ever make it such that they wouldn't do that. And it's about patterns, incentives, and frequency that decisions repeat. So that is how I know, to me, it is a coaching issue. It's about shaping the environment so that when these decisions get made, where these decisions get made, it is to help shift those patterns of decision making towards a more ideal approach. And this is a trend that we see in terms of, like I mentioned, guys floating inside the 3-point line for no reason, and guys not spacing out, and Jalen Brunson taking difficult shots just because he's 10 feet closer to the basket than a guy who's could take a more difficult, a longer distance shot, but a more open shot. And to me, this just reflects that Tibbs does have an approach that he's instilled. This reflects that they're not doing whatever they want. They're doing what Tibbs has instilled, which is getting shots near the rim at all costs, crashing for rebounds, trying to get offensive rebounds, trying to play tough, gritty interior basketball. That is what they're trying to do. It is. I don't think Landry Shamet is of his own accord deciding to cut to the rim and making that read and saying, okay, I got a little space. Let me close the space and get to the rim. I think under Joe Mazzulla, Landry Shamet would have 0 cuts to the rim in that situation. And if you agree with that, that means that it is a coaching issue. That is direct evidence, and not only evidence, that is direct proof, in my opinion, that it is a coaching issue that is causing the environment under which these guys are making those decisions. And that's why I don't think it's a Brunson limitation or a limitation of how he wants to play, even though I agree with you, he probably would prefer to play that way. I don't think that he can only play that way, will only play that way, and under a different coach would play that way at the expense of his team. So that's kind of my overarching position. And that's why I think it's very definitively a coaching issue to a much larger extent than it is a Brunson issue. I think it's basically, I don't think we have any evidence that it's a Brunson issue really at all, personally.